Alright, I was just reading a book called Nutrient Power by William Walsh, and according to him, a practitioner that dove deep into the field of methylation, 22% of his 30,000 patients were undermethylated and 8% were overmethylated. On top of that, two-thirds, so 66% of people with mental disorders are undermethylated or overmethylated. So if you suspect having a poor methylation status, maybe because you have low energy, low libido, low motivation, maybe you have depression or anxiety, or maybe you straight up had a MTHFR genetic test, like the one that David Brecka prescribes a lot, you might have looked into supplementing with methylated vitamin as a way to cure your genetic defect. Well, sorry to break it to you, but that might not be the greatest idea. Instead, what you should do is eat foods that are high in vitamin B9 and B2, known as folate and riboflavin. Let me explain why. Methylated vitamins are much more bioavailable than normal vitamins. I mean, that's the reason why you're trying to buy them. But them being more bioavailable can cause some issue and make the negative side effects even worse. Having too much of anything is never a good thing, but there is a much more effective and safe solution to this problem, and it is a simple diet choice. You see, there's a few things that influence your methyl status. Genetics being the most important one, but then diet and environment also have a strong effect on your methyl status. And the one I want to really focus on today is diet. I want to ask you a simple question. Why do you think our ancestors carried on defects like the MTHFR? If it was really that much big of a deal, natural selection would have discarded this defect. Well, the most prevalent theory behind why we carried on this defect is that our ancestors didn't really feel it. This defect didn't affect them because they were eating a diet that was nutrient dense, that had a lot of riboflavin and folate, vitamin B9 and B2. And since they were eating such tremendous amount of vitamin B9 and B2, the MTHFR defect didn't affect them at all. So when you intake healthy amount of those vitamins daily, you can fix most of the issues that come from these defects. So basically the goal is kind of replicating the diets of our ancestors as a way to solve our issue with methylation. This will not only be much safer, it will be much cheaper, and it will also be evolutionarily accurate. Many studies show that a diet high in folate lowers homocysteine levels, and high levels of homocysteines means that you have a poor methylation status because homocysteine is metabolized during a process that requires folate. So to break down homocysteine, you need folate. And if you break down homocysteine, you will have a better methylation process. Therefore, to heal yourself from your defect, you need to make your homocysteine levels go down by ingesting more folate and riboflavin. To make this all simple for you, I'll share with you 4 foods that are high in folate and riboflavin that will cure your genetic defect when it comes to methylation. The first one is liver. It can be beef liver, can be chicken liver, or any other type of liver, because liver is king. It has some of the highest concentration of vitamin B2 and B9. If you ask Google, in only 50 grams of liver, which is like this big by the way, you have 107.5 micrograms of folate, which is about 27% of the daily value, and you have 1.2 milligrams of riboflavin, which is about 108% of the daily value. Liver is so great that the only risk of eating liver daily is that you're gonna be overdoing it. Liver is packed with micronutrients and fat-soluble vitamins, and you can overtake fat-soluble vitamins. But still, eating small portions of liver daily is much more effective than eating one big portion weekly. So what I recommend is not going past 100 grams of liver in a week. So that basically comes down to 14 to 15 grams of liver daily, which is like honestly the size of a penny. Because you've got to imagine our ancestors eating a whole animal. They would eat a lot of muscle meat, and just a small portion of liver, right? So you kind of want to replicate the same ratio. Next on the list is eggs. So for 2 large eggs, you'll get about 12.5% of the daily value of folate and 38.5% of the daily value of riboflavin. But if you paid close attention so far, you might have realized that the 2 foods I just mentioned are much higher in riboflavin. They have about 3 times more riboflavin than folate in the daily value percentage. That's why it's also extremely important to add in some leafy green vegetables, since they are extremely dense in folate. Take 100 grams of spinach as an example. It has 48.5% of the daily value in folate and 14.6% of the daily value in riboflavin. And finally, red meat is also an option, but the only issue is that it only has 1.5% of the daily value in folate in 100 grams of ground beef. But if it's grass-fed and grass-finished, that number can double. But the riboflavin content is at about 15%, which is honestly amazing since you can eat about 300 grams of ground beef in one meal easy. So instead of buying expensive supplements, try to make a diet change and incorporate some of the foods I just mentioned. I mean, you can imagine yourself eating breakfast, eating 2 eggs, then you go and eat lunch, add some spinach, and then at the end of the day, you reward yourself with red meat and add in a little penny of liver as a way to supplement your folate and riboflavin intake. If you fall into the 22% of people who are undermethylated, you will see an instant difference in your energy levels, you'll think more clearly, and you'll see an instant improvement in your day-to-day life. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.